Hello everyone, Joseph Dunphy here, and this is your weekly Grass 10 grazing management update on the Dairy Edge. Pasture-based data for the week. Average farm cover is holding well at 636 kilos of dry matter per hectare. The cover per livestock unit is sitting at 244 kilos of dry matter per livestock unit. Growth, again, for the last 7 days has been positive at 21 kilos of dry matter per hectare, and the pre-grazing yield is currently sitting in around 1400 kilos of dry matter per hectare. Dry matter percentages recorded for this week. Athenry in County Galway was at 13%, Oak Park in County Carlow 11%, Moore Park and Grange both at 12%. Your predicted grass growth, rainfall and soil temperatures for the coming 7 days. With the cold and harsh weather that's expected during this week, grass growth predictions are expected to drop back significantly to between 7 and 10 kilos of dry matter per hectare. Soil temperatures with the poorer weather are going to experience a significant drop down to between 5 and 6 degrees over the coming 7 days. And predicted rainfall amounts are quite large, with 40 to 50 millimetres of rain expected in the west and the southwest, and 25 to 30 millimetres of rain expected in the east. Your Grass 10 tips for this week. Grazing has slowed down on farms, with most farmers now housed by night, and some have a few grazings left by day. Wet weather in the last few days, particularly in the north and the west, has housed animals full-time. However, this has been a great grazing autumn overall, and average farm cover is now at a level where grazing should finish. October and November growth rates have been above normal for this time of year, which has made for an excellent autumn for grazing. On average, from mid-October to today, growth rates were 6 kilos of dry matter per hectare per day higher than the 5-year average. And this has put an extra 250 kilos of dry matter per hectare on farms, which essentially is 1 bale per hectare during this time period, which was very welcomed in a tough grass growing year. With cold and wet weather forecast this week, as we've already said, growth rates will return to normal at 7 to 8 kilos of dry matter per hectare per day. On dairy farms where spring grass supply should be a priority, farmers should aim for a farm cover of greater than 700 kilos of dry matter per hectare on the 1st of December. Budget off growth rates now this week of around 8 kilos of dry matter per hectare for the last 10 days of November. So target an average farm cover of 650 plus kilos of dry matter per hectare today to achieve a closing cover of 750 kilos of dry matter per hectare on the 1st of December, or target 700 kilos of dry matter per hectare per day if you want closer to 800 kilos of dry matter per hectare on your closing cover. It's important to keep measuring weekly at this time of the year, as a week's grazing with low growth rates can have a huge impact on reducing average farm cover. Extending the grazing season on lower stock dairy farms, so that's dairy farms with less than 2.0 livestock units per hectare of stocking rate, is acceptable as long as average farm cover does not go below 550 kilos of dry matter per hectare. As the winter approaches, now is a great time to assess some of the grazing infrastructure on your farm, and first up for inspection are your farm roadways. Did some of your farm roadways deteriorate throughout the year due to insufficient camber to move rainwater away? Are your roadways the correct size for your herd? And are your roadways compliant with the new nitrates requirements? See the table on roadway requirements in this week's Grass 10 newsletter, and click the link to the Dairy Infrastructure Workbook with tips on designing and improving farm roadways. A final reminder on this podcast that this year's National Dairy Conference takes place next week, Wednesday, the 27th of November, in Limerick Racecourse, starting at 9 o'clock. The theme of the conference is Robust Dairy Farming for Future Challenges. Make sure to get registered over the coming weekend for it. It promises to be an excellent event with speaker sessions in the morning, and in the afternoon there are 6 workshops where you select 3. And for more information and to register for the conference, see the flyer and the link in this week's Grass 10 newsletter. Your featured farmer for this week is John Casey from Causeway in County Kerry. John has a healthy average farm cover at the minute of 795 kilos of dry matter per hectare, and growth again has been bang on the average from pasture at 21 kilos of dry matter per hectare. Pre-grazing yield is at 1500 kilos of dry matter per hectare, and milk yield is currently 11 litres, fat at 585 and protein at 445. Cows had been out by day, and there is just one paddock left to graze before being fully housed. His target average farm cover is on the 1st of December, 750 kilos of dry matter per hectare, as he's prioritising spring pasture availability. He has one reseeded paddock with a cover of 1200 kilos of dry matter per hectare that he will graze before housing. This was reseeded in early August and has green grazed twice. From a soil fertility point of view, John has been working on paddocks that were indexed 2 for K, so they got a half a bag per acre of MOP last week. And when grazing finishes, he's going to focus on making improvements to roadway surfaces on the Milken platform. And if you click into this week's Grass 10 newsletter, you'll see one of the first paddocks closed on John's farm in October is now a cover of 1,200 kilos of dry matter per hectare, and it's going to be excellent for next spring. If you'd like to hear more from the Grass 10 team, subscribe to the weekly Grass 10 newsletter, which is available on the Grass 10 page on the Teagasc public website. And the link to the newsletter is also available in the description of this podcast. We'd also like to thank the sponsors of the Grass 10 campaign, AIB, Grassland Agro, Department of Agriculture, FPD, and the Farmers Journal. This has been your Grass 10 update, and I'll talk to you all next week.